Hey everyone, this is Dr. D at Thrive Head and Spinal Care. I was giving some thought today. We're hearing so much about stress. Life is so hustle bustle nowadays, and deadlines, and raising kids and kids in college, and just all of that. And we hear the catchphrase about stress management, but what is that, and what does that entail? So a lot of times we know very superficially about stress and the term stress management, but we really don't know much in depth and how can we utilize it, for example, stress management in our lives in a productive way. So I'd like to visit with you just a little bit about that. So imagine for a moment that we go way back in time, way back to the ancient times, and we're out foraging for food and we come across a saber-toothed tiger. Now I think we would all agree that that saber-toothed tiger is in fact a stressor. It absolutely qualifies as a stressor, right? It doesn't do me any good to be thinking about what I'm going to do. Meanwhile, he's eating me. I have to make a decision quickly, and I really only have probably two options. One is to club him over his fuzzy little head and knock him out, or the other is to run real fast in the opposite direction. In other words, I have the option to either to fight or to flee. And that's exactly the way our body is programmed. It is really a survival mechanism. To either, when we come across that stressor in the old days, I either needed, because usually it was a predator and he was looking for lunch and I had lunch written over my forehead, right? So I either have to fight him and defend myself and my survival, or I have to run real fast in the opposite direction, or maybe climb a tree or do some form of vigorous physical activity. But what a lot of people don't realize is that our body doesn't know the difference between that deadline at work and that saber-toothed tiger. Our body doesn't know the difference between maybe getting caught in traffic and being stuck at a bumper-to-bumper traffic when hey, I need to be somewhere. I need to be at a meeting, and I can't get there right now. And our body doesn't know the difference, for example, with a fight with your spouse or your significant other or your loved one. Now, I've had a person before tell me, he says, no, you don't understand. There is no difference between a fight with my spouse and a saber-toothed tiger. So whatever the case is, it is programmed in our DNA is that when we come across a stressor in our life, our body gears up to fight or to flee. So one of the suggestions I have for you is when you get home at the end of a super busy day, a super stressful day, that instead of crashing on the couch or just vegetating in front of the TV, I would encourage you to go for a brisk walk, do some yoga, go ride a bike, go for a swim. It doesn't matter. Pummel the bed with a tennis racket. The point is, when you have been under a tremendous amount of stress that day, your body has been gearing up all day long to fight or to flee. Said another way, is your body has been gearing up all day long to do vigorous physical activity, and I encourage you to give it some. Because what you'll find out, you'll probably not feel like doing it, but I encourage you to do it anyway. Because if you get up and do some form of vigorous physical activity, now I'm not saying you have to go out and run a marathon, but if you just get up and go for a brisk walk, take the dogs for a walk, they'll love you for it, is that I'll bet you that by the time you get back home, or you stop doing whatever that activity is, or you stop having that pillow fight with the mattress in the bedroom, is that you will find that you will literally feel a lot of that stress response is gone. It's either greatly reduced or gone. So you're literally like opening up a relief valve, a pressure valve, if you will, and you're letting a lot of that pressure off from the day. So that's one advice I have for you, is stress management. The other thing I'd like to encourage you to consider is that when you have a lot of stress going on in a particular event or activity, you really should ask yourself an important question. And that important question is this. You should ask yourself, is this a situation I can control? Because here's the deal. If you're under a stressful situation and you take a moment and you ask yourself, is this a situation I can control? And if the answer is yes, then you should go into action and you should start taking control. Because taking control of a situation can be a stress reducer. And likewise, not taking control or changing, if you will, a situation that you have the ability to change or get control of is stress inducing. It actually increases your stress. So that's the question we should all ask ourselves. Is this a situation I can control? If the answer is yes, then we should go into action and start to take control of the situation, and that will reduce our stress. Even if we don't get the outcome that we were looking for, just the fact that we went into action, we don't feel so much like a victim, right? Okay. Now, if you ask yourself, is this a situation I can control? And if the answer is no, then we have to learn to let it go. And I'm not saying that that's always easy, but we get better with practice, right? So if I'm stuck in traffic, bumper to bumper traffic, and again, I'm late for a meeting or late for getting back to the office from lunch, and I ask myself that question, is this a situation I can control? The answer is obviously no. I have no control over the fact that there was maybe an accident up ahead or there was road construction, and I am stuck in traffic. So I really have two choices at that point. I can get all worked up, my blood pressure goes up, and get all steamed and mad and honking my horn, and I can do all of that. Now, does that get me moving along any faster in traffic? Not at all. It actually, I'm getting myself more worked up. Or I have the ability to say, what a blessing. I am burdened with responsibility from sunrise to sunset. And now for the next 10 or 15 minutes, I couldn't get responsibility if I wanted it. What a blessing. I can turn on the radio and listen to music I like. I could, think about what's going on in my children's lives or whatever it might be that brings you some pleasure, helps you kind of relax down. I could even look at the people stuck in traffic next to me, right, and see them honking their horn and getting all worked up, and I can start to laugh at what they're going through. And all of this tones down my stress level. And one last thing, have you ever said to yourself, I was so stressed out I couldn't even think straight? Well, I want you to know physiologically that's a true statement. Because here's the deal. We do our thinking and our processing and our analyzing and self-reflecting in the frontal lobe of the brain up here. But when we meet that saber-toothed tiger that day, no matter what that saber-toothed tiger happens to be in our life, is that what happens is more of that processing and energy in the brain goes to the amygdala. It goes away from the frontal lobe, which is our processing center, which is how we think and analyze and look at things and so forth. And so I want you to know that when you're under a tremendous amount of stress and you're not doing things to help manage and let off some of that pressure and steam, is that you literally are not living your life at that moment in your frontal lobe, and you're living more of your life in the amygdala part of your brain. And that is not the part of the brain where you can think clearly and make wise decisions. So I hope you found this discussion helpful, and I encourage you, just play around with it a little bit, and I think you'll find that the more you practice some of these concepts, you'll find that your perception of stress goes down, and the way your body responds to stress, that you truly can start to manage stress. So for now, I'll say goodbye, and I'll see you on the next video.